right, welcome back to another episode of the Karter Cast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Connor on the NBA show, Game 1, Overreactions. We have a new guest, though. Welcome on to the show, Chase Rogers. Chase, how you doing?
What's up, guys? Good. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I'm excited.
All right. Pleasure. Well, he's a Celtics fan. Us great value NBA fans being Charlotte Hornets fans, I think we just needed someone that's sniffed a title before. I know it's been since 2008, but I think we needed someone on here that's, knows what it's like to be relevant at this time of the year.
A little pedigree.
Yeah, also someone that has a chance to win one this year or, in the next 20 years, if it's you guys.
20 is a stretch.
There's a good point right there.
No. Next year's our year. It's next year Hornets title. Hornets title next year. But before we get into today's episode, we're brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterCast for $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. Use code KarterCast for your first purchase. Get $20 off. KarterKast at SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app today for your next sporting event tickets. All right, let's get into the show. Connor, we'll start with you. We're going to start in the Lakers-Nuggets series. I think that's the series with the most storylines. It's not the best series, but has the most storylines surrounding it. Nuggets coast Game 1. Nuggets coast Game 1, dominate. Lakers went up, I believe it was 14 in the second quarter. That 14-point deficit got erased immediately. Like, the Nuggets didn't even try. It was just dead immediately. Overall thoughts, takeaways from Lakers-Nuggets Game 1.
I think the number one thing that stood out to me was that was the Lakers' best chance to steal one in Denver. Game 1, coming off rest, I think that was their maybe only chance to steal a game in Denver against Jokic and these guys. And it didn't really feel like LeBron took it to that next level, especially in the fourth quarter, whether it was fatigue or whatever else. He didn't take a lot of shot attempts. It doesn't seem like he tried as hard, like with the sense of urgency, almost like the 2018 finals against Golden State and that stacked KD team where it was like, this is our one chance to steal one and make this a series, so I'm going to put up 55 and give it everything I have in Game 1. Didn't see that from them. As far as like specific matchups go, my number one takeaway was, who else would you want guarding LeBron than Aaron Gordon? Like, he is the tailor-made, athletic, prime, young, strong enough to stop the bully ball defender to guard LeBron at this stage in his career, and Denver's just got LA's number, period. I mean, yeah, you can talk about D'Lo not shooting well. Yeah, you can talk about Reeves not being aggressive. AD played his ass off. He got 44 minutes, and you still lost. Easily lost. So, I don't know. It just feels like Denver's got their number, and this was their best chance to steal one, and I expected more.
Yeah, AD had 32 points. AD had 32 points, and it almost felt like watching UConn Purdue where Zach Edey has 37 points. We're like, it doesn't matter. Like, let him have 100. It's not going to matter on the bottom score. Like, UConn's going to win this game. The Nuggets are going to win this game. Chase, what are your takeaways from Lakers-Nuggets Game 1?
Nuggets are still the best team. They're the team to beat. I mean, any concerns we had with them towards the end of the season are pretty much erased. I mean, I was thinking exactly what Connor was saying. This wasn't only the Lakers' best chance. You could tell that they wanted to steal this game. Like, playing LeBron and AD over 40 minutes, them giving their best effort, and it didn't matter. Like Connor was saying, Jokic is still the best. He's going to win the MVP. Denver's still the team to beat. I mean, I just saw them toy with the Lakers the last, that second half, and I mean, they took care of business. They're the defending champs, and I don't see anyone knocking them off anytime soon.
I mean, obviously, I 100% agree with you guys, but the other thing is, watching that, you saw how easy it was for the Nuggets, and then you're just reminded, who's beating the Nuggets? Like, you watch all these Western Conference games, even the Clippers going off with James Harden having a weirdly vintage regular season James Harden game in the playoffs somehow. Then the Mavs looked bad, and all these other Western Conference teams. Then you're like, wait, don't overthink this. No one's beating this Nuggets team. They're this good. There's a reason why they're probably going to be back-to-back champs. It's just going to be it's a collision course between them and Boston, it seems like. I think that was the main thing I took away from this weekend as a whole is no one's beating Boston or Denver. Connor.
Yeah, well, the thing is, at least in my lifetime since I've been watching basketball, and maybe it's due to age, I've never seen a team this comfortable against a LeBron-led team before. I mean, the Nuggets are not scared of him, especially in the playoffs. We saw it last year. We saw it in the regular season this year. And we're seeing it already in Game 1. It doesn't bother them. The Lakers team is just not as talented as this Nuggets team. If they're going to have any chance, you can't have D'Angelo Russell taking 20 shots, and you can't have Austin Reeves only taking 9 shots. Reeves has to get in double-figure shots, period. He has to be that secondary initiator, getting in the lane, hitting those tough fadeaway shots, up fakes, dish-offs, do whoever for the dunk. I just think they need him more involved in the offense because it can't be LeBron and AD for 4 quarters because you're going to see it like game 1. LeBron's going to get gassed at the end of the game. And he should. He's 39 years old, but that's just what's going to happen.
Let me start with Chase right here. Do you think the Lakers should have lost to the Pelicans on purpose and tried for the Thunder in the play-in? Because right now, if you're looking at it, if you're a Lakers fan, you almost feel like you're doomed. You feel like you're doomed against the Nuggets. I would almost rather take that chance of trying to beat the Sacramento Kings, and then you're like, we're minus 250 favorites against the Thunder. We're probably beating the Oklahoma City Thunder if we can get them.
Yeah, if you're a Lakers fan right now and you watched, obviously, the Lakers game, and then you watched that game last night, OKC, New Orleans, you're kicking yourself. You're like, why the heck? Why did Zion have to get hurt? Why isn't he on Ozempic yet? Like, why did we not lose to the New Orleans Pelicans? Like, LA would have, I don't know if they would have handled OKC, but they would have fared 100 times better than going up against the Nuggets. I mean, come on. The experience alone, the fact that LeBron's been there before, and the way that OKC looked last night, I mean, Lakers, I'd be tempted to pick them. In fact, I probably would. So, yeah, they should have lost to New Orleans easily.
Connor, what do you think?
Big no. Yeah, big no
Big
for me.
no?
Can't do that.
Big
Can't
no?
disrespect the game.
Who
Obviously,
no, but everyone,
it would be better.
No. But everyone already disrespects the game because we saw the jerry rigging that happened at the end of the regular season. We saw what the Cavs did. Connor, the Cavs let the dog crap Charlotte Hornets, a.k.a. the Greensboro Swarm, at the end of the season beat them just so they could get the Orlando Magic.
I think having a lineup of Pete Nance, Tristan Thompson, and Isaiah Mobley was actually pretty good for the Cavs. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean they did really try hard against JT Thor and Bryce McGowan's.
Here's the thing, though. Aside from the whole disrespecting the game point, is this: it's still an NBA caliber team. The Kings are a playoff caliber team in most years. Like they were the 10 seed this year, but in most years they're in the top 8. Period. Like that talent, Fox, Sabonis, 2 of the best 25, 30 players in the league. You can't risk that. And a winner go home, one game and you're out. Let's say somebody random like Keegan Murray hits 10 threes. You're going home. You don't even get a chance to play the Nuggets or the Thunder or anybody in the playoffs. With all that variance, you can't take that risk and intentionally lose in a play-in game to then make it winner go home. I don't know.
I think you take that risk.
I just think that the Lakers'
go ahead,
chances
Chase.
against the Nuggets, the Lakers' chances against the Nuggets in 7 games is still way worse than one game against Sacramento. If they get hot, they get hot. And it's whatever, but your chances
That's
are so much
fair.
better.
But aren't you still going to have to play them eventually? Like, why not just get it out of the way? Maybe round 1 is the best chance to beat the Nuggets. They're rusty. They had those couple games, weird games to end the year, that Spurs loss. They haven't got their groove yet. And then by the time you see them in the Western Finals or the second round, they are a well-oiled machine already. They got their rotations down pat. Jokic is, guys stamina under him, playing 40 minutes a game. Then you don't have a chance at all. So I would argue maybe round 1's the best chance to beat this Denver team, and you still can't do it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point too. That would be the argument against it, obviously, but I still like. The thing is, if you're the Lakers and you get to play OKC in the first round, you're probably walking into the Western Conference Finals, if we're being honest.
That's a stretch. That's a
You
stretch.
think?
Clippers, Mavs, winner of that series? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
If the Lakers got to play the Clippers in the second round, and it's all every game's in LA,
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
a big advantage.
that's 7 home games for the Lakers. Yeah, good point. Other thing about the series, I'll start. Go ahead, Connor.
I was going to say, last takeaway I had from Denver, LA is they have to take advantage of the non-Jokic minutes. The Lakers were down 11 to start the fourth. Jokic checks out to start the fourth. He comes back in with 7 minutes and 46 seconds left. The lead's still 11 points. You can't break even in non-Jokic minutes with both your guys in.
Yeah, I also noticed that too when you're watching the game. Stats didn't lie. My eyes didn't lie. You're like, DeAndre Jordan's doing just fine on the floor right now.
Like, yeah, well, is he that much of a drop-off
49-year-old
from Jackson
DeAndre
Hayes?
Jordan. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
Jackson
Yeah.
Hayes. Last thing on this series, give me a percentage. What percentage do the Lakers have of winning the series already being down 1 game? I'll start with you, Chase.
I'll never say never. It's LeBron James. I'll give him 3% chance they can win this series. It'd have to be a miracle. It would be one of the greatest feats in LeBron's storied career.
So you're saying if LeBron came back from this Denver series down one game and somehow beat Denver, this would be his greatest achievement ever, not 2016, none of that.
No. I didn't say that. I said one of. Wouldn't be the greatest achievement he's ever had, but it would be one of the most impressive things we've seen a basketball player do.
Connor.
All the variants. I mean, the thing about the NBA playoffs is one injury, Jamal Murray goes down with a sprained ankle, it's a different series. So I would say 10%. I'd give him 10% chance. Just if the Lakers somehow catch fire, if D'Lo actually shows up and goes 50% from 3 for 4 straight games, which that's like a 0.5% chance of happening. But you never know. It's the NBA. These guys are talented, best players in the world. I'll say 10%.
Yeah, I'll go 10%. The injury factor convinced me. I was going to say 5%, and then you're like, Jamal Murray goes down. Lakers probably win the series. Like,
Reggie Jackson's not putting up 25 shots.
I mean, he also turns into Kobe Bryant in the playoffs.
He
right?
does.
Like,
he might be the most
he's
underrated.
Never had a bad playoff game.
I know. He might be the most underrated playoff guy ever. Let's see here.
Playoff riser, up there, I believe, is the term kids use.
What's the next series you guys want to talk about in the West, Connor? What do you want to talk about?
In the West?
Let's stay in the West.
You got to go last night. Yeah, we got to go last night, OKC New Orleans, because I think without a doubt this was the best game won at the weekend. Do you guys agree with that?
100%.
Well, I think the main point there is, like, number one, OKC had the best playoff atmosphere by far. That was electric. I mean, Oklahoma City, great basketball city.
Every dude that's our age, like 20 in their mid-20s, just went back to middle school, and you're just like, holy crap, OKC's back. Like, you can feel it again. It was weird. You're like, oh, I need actually Mike Breen on the call and, good commentators. I can't remember. Kevin Harlan was on the call last night, right? Who was on the TNT call? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't. It was Sparrow. Sparrow Dedes, right?
It was Sparrow.
Yeah.
That's
Sparrow.
fine. The ESPN crews have been.
Harlan.
Yeah, we need Harlan. The ESPN crews have been a disaster.
Doris Burke and JJ Redick are like oil and water. It just doesn't mix. It just does not mix.
Oh, so you're saying the Duke guy's water?
His water. Jumper's water. I'll concede to that. Yeah, sure.
You like JJ Redick.
Holy water.
You like JJ Redick.
JJ Redick, the analyst, I'm fine with. He might be a little snobby sometimes.
Yeah, because you know why you like JJ Redick, the analyst, Connor.
No. Why? Why, Karter?
And because you mentioned he's a little snobby sometimes. I mean, you are a Carolina guy, a wine and cheese club, a little bit. He kind of has that same attitude as an analyst that Tar Heel fans have. Yeah.
I can't argue there. Yeah.
I Pelicans Thunder last night. My main takeaway was, I said this right before we hit the record button. Every player had brown on their shorts, man. Nobody wanted that ball at the end. Everybody was freaking out. Horrible coaching decisions by all fronts. That was the most inexperienced playoff game I think I've ever seen in my life. Nobody felt like they had been there before. CJ McCollum felt like he hadn't been there before. Brandon Ingram, I don't know where. He must have celebrated 420 2 days in a row, because I don't know what planet he was on in this game.
Karter, breaking news, very relevant to what we're talking about. The Charlotte Hornets are interviewing JJ Redick for their head coaching job.
What?
It's real. It's Shams. It's real.
We're back.
I can't believe that. That's like, I think we just manifested that.
Yeah, we might have just manifested that. Charlotte, Connor, this is amazing, because we even have Chase on the show. We try and do only playoffs. Somehow, some way, we talk ourselves into a Hornets minute every single episode. It's amazing.
The Hornets being talked about in late April should be like, all right, that's the end of your podcast. Like, oh, everybody can buy a mic. We deserve those comments right now.
Absolutely. But, okay, real quick, Connor. JJ Redick is the next coach of the Charlotte Hornets. Do you like it, yes or no, Connor?
No, I don't. We can't hire a guy with zero coaching experience to be the next coach of this franchise. We need a guy who's been here before, veteran, playoff experience, knows how to handle a locker room, maybe a Budenholzer, somebody that has like at least a few years of head coaching experience. This is not the time, the team, or the locker room to hire somebody that's brand new, period.
I like it. Freshen things up.
Ask me.
Go ahead, Chase. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it. You're the mother effing Hornets. Take whatever win you can get. Hire JJ Redick. All right.
Is that a win? Is that a win though?
Yes, it's exciting at least.
Yeah,
right?
that's
It's
what I'm
something
saying.
to
Like,
talk about. Yes,
we become relevant. We get the Hornets become a part of the content machine. I like it, and also we've done the boring coach. We've done the Steve Cliffords and James Borregos. Those clearly haven't worked. Let's get wild in here. I mean, we already have the craziest team in the NBA off the court. Let's have a fun team on the court too. How about that?
You know what? This is just another cannonball into the ship of ESPN commentating crews because Doc Rivers, gone to coaching. Now JJ Redick gets promoted to the A squad. Is he gone? Like, what do they do now?
I think they hire you and I at this point. I mean, this is what it's coming down.
I think so.
Connor makes his return to ESPN.
That'd be glorified. I mean, yeah, I was a media operator. So what? I was making the bare minimum salary, but just put me on the call. Like, fly me out. I'm ready for game two.
Would you do it if you have to move back to West Hartford?
If I was on air, yeah, I think that'd be worth it. That'd be worth a West Hartford move.
All right, back to Pelicans Thunder. Who knew we were talking about Pelicans Thunder right now after that news break? Chase, what are your takeaways from this series?
This is a little bit of a zag. This is a long-term thing, all right? But have we seen a better rebuild in the history of the NBA than the Oklahoma City Thunder? Like, they haven't won anything. I understand that. But they're the 1 seed. They're back. They're relevant. The crowd's bumping. They're in the playoffs. Like, is this the best rebuild we've seen in the quickest turnaround?
No, because the Utah Jazz with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, when they were the 1 seed, that crowd was bumping, making racist remarks to players on the court. That Utah was Utahing, as you could say.
Oh, so that's a defining characteristic of a rebuild for you, Karter, huh? That makes it successful? Real mature.
No, I love it because all these Utah Jazz
You love
fans
it.
They were probably the first people to just be that when they hear that they're like, no, we were the best rebuilds. Like, you guys were never sniffing anything. Like, I guess the Thunder's yeah, but no, I agree. I can't off the top of my head. I wish I would have known this before we recorded. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything like this. I mean, because it's not fair to use like the LeBron Cavs as an example because LeBron changed that. So, completely organizational rebuild through the draft and not really through free agency whatsoever. Connor, what do you think?
In terms of like the quickest, if you want to factor that in, 100%. Because that bubble year with Chris Paul, Shea, and Dennis Schroeder as the 3-guard lineup, they took Houston to 7 games in the bubble. That was 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, after that is when they tear it down and are bad for a couple years. But even then, there were flashes. Last year, they were in the play-in tournament, and now all of a sudden, they're the 1 seed. Like, the jumps they've made year to year since they've been quote-unquote bad, I have not seen anything like it in the 18 years I've been watching NBA. So I would agree. You talk about building through the draft, the Warriors maybe with Curry, Clay, Draymond, like those were all draft picks. A couple of free agent signings in there as well, but I wouldn't put it up there with OKC.
Yeah, because the Curry, Clay, Draymond, that wasn't a quick rebuild though.
Right, that was a few-year process. Like they built up to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. What else do you have on this series though, Chase?
Yeah. Everyone's going to talk about OKC's experience, and it showed last night, right? They were scoreless for, I think it was like almost 6 minutes of game time there in the fourth when they needed a bucket, and they had the game. I mean, they were up, I think it was as much as 11 there late, and they just couldn't get anything going, and they just wouldn't. I mean, like Shea wouldn't grab the ball. He wouldn't, because he's their guy, right? He's their closer, and eventually he did, right? They kind of were like, this is our offense now, and that's what they need to be doing. But the inexperience shows. But the thing is about the Pelicans, they're also inexperienced. Who do they have that's a savvy veteran? I mean, the best
Valanciunas, McCollum.
Exactly. Right, and McCollum, who really neither of those guys have been anywhere or done much.
Cody Zeller.
Yeah, Cody Zeller.
Right. So we have 2 inexperienced teams here. The Thunder are more talented, but I think this is going to be a series because I think Pelicans have figured things out. If Zion can get healthy, which is a big if, you never know with that guy. This could be a series, and it could continue to be fun down the road.
You made a comment earlier, Chase. If Zion takes Ozempic, I'll take Ozempic. How about that? I ride or die with Zion. Yeah, I'll hop on. I'll hop on the Ozempic game.
Ozempic's hitting the media waves lately. You got y'all talking about it. Charles Barkley came on TNT talking about it with Shaq.
Yeah,
this is
Charles
hitting the airwaves.
Wait, Shaq was on Ozempic?
They were talking about Charles being on it. He was just talking about it with each other.
Yeah, Charles.
Wait, is he on it?
Yeah, Charles is on it. He's out and about it.
Well, he needs it. I mean, let's be honest.
The round mound of rebound.
Yeah, dude, double fist and churros. Connor, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I got to give one quick second to just say how awful that last possession was for New Orleans. I mean, when you get the ball with 14 seconds left and you call an out-of-timeout play, an inbounds play like that, and you don't even get a foot inside the three-point line, like, the ball got poked away by Casey Wallace, sure, whatever. Somehow, some way, you have to find a way to get in the paint and force the ref to make a decision and make a call or kick it out to a wide-open shooter off a trap. Period. Like, you have to get in the lane. And for CJ McCollum to not even get a foot in the paint was brutal. Brutal. I don't know. So that was one point I wanted to make. The other one is, who's the last guy that you guys trusted that's making their playoff debut that you trusted more than Jalen Williams? Like, who's the last, like, first-time playoff guy that you trust more than Jalen Williams? Because every time he drives, I feel like he's going to make the right decision. Every shot he puts up, that mid 5-foot, 8-foot floater, I feel like it's going in. Every big three, it's going in. Like, sure, he doesn't get the ball every possession, but I trust him as a playoff debut, and it's kind of crazy.
I think that way about Zion if we ever get to see him play.
That's fair. But that's kind of like this is Jalen Williams' second year. So it's like, all right, Zion's been in the league for, however many years, even though not in the playoffs.
LaMelo? I'm
Absolutely
addicted.
not.
We might need to have like a mid-podcast intervention on the Hornets. No more Hornets references at the rest of this podcast because I'm addicted right now.
Burn some sage.
Oh, my goodness. Anything else on this series from either of you?
Chase, you got anything?
Let's go 7.
I like 7 games.
I think it's 7 games. If Zion can come back by game 4, I think Pelicans take this series. As long as it's not 3-0, obviously. Even if it's 2-1 and he can come back for game 4, I think Pelicans win this series. I think they match up really well, and OKC's rebounding is a huge problem. Huge problem.
How soon do we see Bismack Biyombo getting back up center minutes over Kendrick Williams and Jalen Williams? How soon? I'm saying game 4, maybe game 3.
I promised myself I wouldn't make another Hornets reference with Bismack Biyombo, so
don't do it. Don't do it.
Man, if Zion comes back, I mean, Chet Holmgren's ribcage is going to be in splinters, dude. Like, that matchup's going to be crazy, right?
It's going to be bone shards in like the third row.
Must see TV.
Dude, I know. We deserve this. We do need to see Zion versus Chet. Let's talk about the other Western Conference series real quick. We'll go through these a little quicker. Suns T-Wolves. Suns first game, man. Holy crap. Genuinely, did 420 have an effect on this Suns team? Because they were everybody looked like they were on another planet. They got demolished by the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves just came ready to play. Home crowd, obviously, all home crowds won in Game 1 this week. Connor, I'll start with you. What are your takeaways from Suns Timberwolves?
First eye-popping number that I wrote down: Phoenix got out-rebounded 52-28. That's an insane margin, even for a team with Townsend, Gobert, and Nasrid, who they play 2 bigs at all times. Doesn't matter to get out rebounded like that in a playoff game, especially a game 1 where you're rested. That's inexcusable. Turn the TikTok camera on for this one. If you put a gun to my head and said, outside of Boston, because Boston's the obvious choice here, outside of Boston, choose one first-round series that would be a sweep. Like, which one is the most likely to be a sweep? I'm choosing this one because Phoenix will be the first team to give in and the first team to give up. As soon as they go down 2-0, if they go down at home in Game 3, Durant, Beal, Booker, they're going to turn it in. We saw it all regular season. All these other matchups, I feel like the underdog has at least some fight in them. Phoenix will be the first team to turn it in.
I like that. I think he's right.
I agree with Phoenix might be the first team to give it up, but the most likely to be a sweep, I still think it's Nuggets-Lakers because I just think the Nuggets have their number.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think do you think if the Nuggets do sweep the Lakers, do you think we get that thing again where every TV network's like, that was the most competitive sweep I've ever seen in my life? They start giving LeBron moral victories.
Windhurst does like a 30-minute segment on how beautiful that sweep was.
What is happening?
Connor's right. Connor's right about the Suns. If Drew Eubanks is getting serious playoff minutes, you're in trouble. And the Suns have no depth ever in this entire season, and Minnesota has it all. They have all the momentum. They have the, best player on the court in this series, and I think it's over for the Suns.
That was going to be my next question. Should Suns fans be worried? And clearly, your guys' answers is an emphatic yes.
Well, yeah. When Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen are combined 0 for 7 from 3, what's the point of them being on the court? They have to hit shots to be useful.
it's my fault about the Suns. I'll take responsibility. Grayson Allen has been straight butt cheeks. He was straight butt cheeks in that game. And we said this, Connor, when the Suns made this roster construction, and we said it even right before in our playoff preview, is this series really comes down to, can guys like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal hit shots? And Suns fans knew this all season long. It looked great in the regular season, but playoffs are a different story. Are you going to be comfortable when you need Grayson Allen to hit big shots in big moments of big playoff games? And clearly you're not comfortable after game 1 against the Timberwolves, because he clearly can't hit them right now.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And the thing about the Suns is, it seemed like the Wolves were very content to let Kevin Durant get his. It's like, all right, get your 30 points. We'll put Towns on you. You can get to the mid-range. You can get whatever you want. But we are not going to allow Devin Booker to get going. We are not going to allow Bradley Beal to get going. Like, if one of you guys goes off, go ahead. You're not going to win the game. Like, pull-up mid-ranges are fine. But when Minnesota is putting it on them like that, out-rebounding them by 25 and then hitting threes, you can't win like that. So, their defensive strategy of letting KD get his is almost genius. And, we've seen teams try that with Jokic. It's a little bit different. Like, oh, Jokic scores 35. That's what you want him to do. That's a little bit different because with this Suns team, Kevin Durant's not the passer Jokic is. He's not going to set guys up like that. And when you have elite wing defenders like Jalen McDaniels or Nickeil Alexander-Walker was putting the clamps on, Anthony Edwards was actually trying because it's the playoffs now, it's going to be tough for those Suns, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal to get going. And that has to happen for them to be competitive. They have to have at least 2 of those guys going.
Chase, what about you?
I agree. I mean, the pressure that Minnesota's putting on the ball, it's not conducive to the way the Suns want to play basketball, especially offensively. And Minnesota's just blew that up game 1. I'm just excited to see what the Suns do to adjust. The problem is they just don't have a lot of answers unless those guys that you were talking about can start hitting threes. One of these games they will, and so I don't see a sweep, but, 5-6 is the max this is going. I like the Wolves.
Here's a quick trivia question for you guys. Karter, Chase, either one of you guys can answer this. Without cheating, who had the highest plus minus in this game 1?
Oh, great question.
Since you're asking, it's got to be somebody.
Yeah, it's got to be someone stupid.
Come
you
on,
go
you got
first,
this.
Chase.
I'm going to say I think Rudy Gobert.
Okay, Karter.
I'm gonna go with McDaniels.
How about Nickeil Alexander-Walker plus 28 off the bench, 7 for 12 from the field, 4 steals. What a game! What a game was.
Awesome. Wow.
Not gonna lie, if we would have done a who he played for before the playoffs, I probably would have said he's still on the Pelicans. If we're being honest. That was breaking news to me when we were watching Timberwolves. I knew he was on the Timberwolves. I went to a Timberwolves game a couple months ago. He kind of balled out in that game, but
wink.
I always envision him as a Pelican, though. I just think
facts.
he's a lifelong Pelican. All right, last thing on this, quick answer. I'll start with you, Connor. Should Suns fans be hitting the panic button right now?
Yes, I think so. I think the way that they got manhandled, I wouldn't say it's time to raise the white flag and nail the panic button, but your fingers hovering over a little bit. You're like, all right, what's going on?
I think you hit the panic button, Chase.
You hit the panic button for this season, and you unlock the big one for years down the road. Because where do they go from here? You got the 6th seed, and you're gonna get clapped by the Timberwolves. What's the plan? Who do you have? You have no cap space. You have no depth. You have no future. You got a bunch of old guys.
No assets.
We're good. No assets. So, Suns fans, season's over. Now, really, really get worried about next 5 years.
It's like when you're about to set off a nuke from a submarine and 2 guys have to put the key in. It's all right, the first guy put it in and he's turning it to the left. Second guy's eyeing it. He's a little nervous.
Yeah, I can't wait for the TikTok comments to attack Chase. Suns. I hope this gets around on Suns Twitter or Suns TikTok, and I hope they're like, who's the Celtics fan? He pisses me off.
From Denver.
Yeah, from Denver. Suns
He's
in
got
4.
it made.
Does he not know Suns in 4? But anyhow, last one, real quick. Mavs Clippers. Are we overreacting to Clippers manhandling the Mavericks in Game 1? I'll start with you, Chase.
Yes. Chill out. Hold on a sec. The Mavs are fine. This was the worst game we've seen them play in 2 months? They're gonna be okay. All right. James Harden went insane. It looked like it was 2016 all over again. They're gonna be okay. Let the Mavs figure it out. You can drop a game. away from home. They need to steal one eventually, but it'll be all right. This is a good series. This is another one I see going 7.
Connor.
To quote our good friend Dylan Wilkerson, friend of the show, let's pump the brakes here. Pump the brakes, because we saw this last year. Harden had 45 in game 1 against Boston and then came out with 12 in game 2. It's like an every other game kind of thing. Won't matter if Kawhi comes back. Then he's back to his tertiary role, just facilitating the offense. So that won't matter. Like, him as a number 3 is so much better than him as a 1 or 2 at this stage in his career. But we have seen it before, so let's calm down with that. And I wrote this down. Of all the series game 1s, this is the number 1 game that I'm not going to overreact to. Luka and Kyrie will bounce back. They are talented enough. They will come back with the vengeance in game 2. I'm very confident in that.
I think they do too. 2 things I wanted to add for this. One, the reason why I'm not overreacting is I don't think any team in this playoffs could have a worse quarter than the Mavs did in the second quarter in this game. I think they finished with 8 points. They missed wide open
2 for
layup
20.
after 2 for 20. They could not hit a 3. They were missing free throws. I mean, the crowd was probably getting free Chick-fil-A nuggets, all Chick-fil-A sandwiches the whole time because they were missing every free throw, every layup. I mean, they couldn't hit a thing in that second quarter. And the other thing I wanted to point was, Connor, we've done these preview NBA pods and all this. Whenever you can zag on the Clippers, you're going to be right. So whenever the public perception is the Clippers are good, zag, they're actually bad. Whenever the public perception is the Clippers are bad, zag, they're actually good. It works like clockwork. Anytime, because the public is very united on the Clippers at one point in time. Like whenever, during the middle of the season, everyone's like, this Clippers team, they're probably second to Boston. They're probably going to meet with Boston in the playoffs. Like, all right, as Dylan Wilkerson says, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. But now, then everyone's like, Mavericks are winning. I think 95% of people had the Mavericks winning this series on FanDuel. So that, and then you're like, oh crap. Like, as a Mavericks fan, I'd be crapping my pants because anytime you can zag on the Clippers, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to imagine, Chase and Karter, you can let me know if this is a good analogy here. I like to imagine the Clippers as kind of a piñata, and you're at a birthday party, and they put the blindfold on you, and they spin you around 5 times, and they're like, start swinging. If you just put your blindfold on and choose something for the Clippers, like, everybody thinks you're going to be good, they're going to be bad. Swing, bang, all the candy falls out. You're right. Like, all of a sudden, Clippers are back. Like, Clippers are back. Kawhi, Paul George, Westbrook. Swing. They're missing the playing game. Like, I don't know. I think you're spot on with that, Karter. By the way, that was bad delivery on that, so that was horrible. But I think you're spot on with that, Karter. The thing about the Clippers is they shifted. It was Mavs plus 150 when it opened, and all of a sudden it was minus 120 before game 1 for the series price. That tells you all you need to know. Because when so many people are on a team like that, that's when your butthole gets a little tight as a Mavericks fan. You're like, all right, this is too much. Like, this is too much now.
Yeah. So quick series predictions, then we'll move on to the Eastern Conference. Chase, series prediction.
For Mavs Clips?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going Mavs in 7.
Connor.
I'm also going to go Mavs in 7. I think Kawhi's not fully healthy.
Let's jinx it. Mavs in 7 too. That's exactly what I was going to say. Let's jinx it.
Time to put the mortgage on the Clippers.
Yep, put the mortgage on the Clippers. We're officially now the College Game Day graphic where, old takes exposed, freezing cold takes. We're already there. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Eastern Conference. All right, let's go to the Eastern Conference now. Connor, what do you have for me?
Well, since we're going to get into the East here and, some of the dud playoff games of the weekend, I wanted to bring up a couple points about game 1s this year compared to last year. So you look at this year, and you're thinking you're sitting on your TV all day, Saturday, Sunday, you're like, man, not a lot of points. A lot of games in the 90s. A lot of games not even getting 200 points. This year, the average points per game in game 1, just over 203 points a game for game 1 average total points. Last year, you know what it was? Almost 223 total points. You had Warriors Kings in like the 250s, Lakers Grizzlies, like all these high-scoring, high-flying games. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Overall, did you think it was not as entertaining of an opening weekend? Because personally, I expected more. I really did. I was so excited to sit down Saturday afternoon and start the playoffs. And I was just let down by, I would say, at least 5 of these games.
Chase?
It was bad. There was only 2 you could really point to that were like, I want to tune in here with 5 minutes left. Everyone else was like, this game's over. I think a big reason, and that's a good stat with the points, the refereeing's different. Defenders can get way up more in your grill, and they can, they're calling those offensive fouls now, and it's really starting to show here. in these games in the first round of the playoffs, especially with these game ones.
And I think that's a good point too, because in these games that were blowouts, the team that got used to the physicality of the playoffs turned out to just dominate the other team. The Mavs didn't come out ready, and the Clippers came out super physical. Bucks didn't come out super physical. I mean, they did punch the Pacers in the mouth, but it was more so Damian Lillard had 35 effing points in the first half. So what are you supposed to do there?
Right.
But like these teams that came out more physical, ready to play from the start, and those were the teams that were more successful and blew out these teams. If I was giving it a grade for this first weekend, I'll be honest, it's a F. I mean, it was a D minus. D minus. Pelicans Thunder pushed it to a D minus. If the Pelicans Thunder was a blowout, it was a straight F opening weekend in the NBA playoffs.
This was the first weekend I really sat down since NFL football, and I was like, all right, I'm going to spend all day watching sports from 1 p.m. through 10:30.
What are you talking about, Connor? What are you talking
like
about?
all day without a break. I was like, I'm not leaving this couch. I'm going to rot on this couch.
What are you talking about? We had just March Madness.
Okay, all right. Take away March Madness. I forgot about that. But I was just thinking like NFL Sundays, like you just sit down at 1 p.m., you're ready to go through Sunday Night Football. And that's how I felt this weekend. And I feel like a lot of those hours are just a waste of time. I'll be honest. I watched almost every possession this weekend, and I feel like I've wasted a lot of my time. Like I could have been outside doing something active.
Yeah, you could have just sat there and been with your girlfriend and been like, "Hey, let's go out on a date or whatever," because you're going to need these points because it's NBA playoffs are on every single night. So eventually, the spouses and girlfriends are just, you're going to have to call in, hey, I'm going to miss games tonight. You got to pick and choose wisely. If you would have chosen early on Saturday, Sunday, you would have chosen very wisely.
I already got we were a few minutes into the second quarter of the second game. So what was the second game on Saturday? Minnesota Phoenix. A few minutes in the second quarter, I got the question. I was like, are you just going to sit there all day and watch these games? And I was like, yeah, I am. Like, it's the playoffs. And then, in hindsight, she was dead right. That was a waste of time.
Yeah, I got the question. So when did the NBA playoffs end? I said June. And then, are you serious?
The bug eyes, yeah.
Yeah. Are you serious? They go until June? But then football starts in, August, doesn't it? Like, yeah, I guess so. July's going to
Summer League.
July's going to blow. Well, I have to. But, babe, we have to watch the Major League Soccer. Messi's playing right now. I can't.
We have the Olympics this year, Karter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not that much of an Olympics guy. Sorry.
Oh, come on.
Do I get to watch Team USA? Some good players. I saw a tweet,
come on, Karter.
The other day about the playoffs starting. Some guys I hugged my wife like I was getting deployed. Like it's all over.
Yeah, because March Madness is a little different because it's 3 days off for 4, 4 days off for 3, 4. But NBA playoffs, it's every single night you're turning it on, and then the problem is, especially East Coast, you go to bed right when that game ends. You're done. You go to bed because it's already 1 a.m. whatever. But on the West Coast, I'm gonna watch it inside the NBA until midnight. So I stay up and watch the entire inside the NBA every night. So it's a whole process, but. Anyhow, let's get into the Eastern Conference games. Let's start off Knicks Sixers. We're recording right now Monday night. They just tipped off right now. So game 1, Knicks take game 1. Connor, I'll start with you. Give me your overall thoughts.
Well, the number one obviously storyline in this that everybody and their brother's going to say is Embiid's health. I mean, he rushes back from an injury, which credit to him for coming back. It seems like consistently when he's hurt around this time of the year, he puts forth an effort to play. A lot of these guys would shut it down. This was Kawhi Leonard. He'd be out for the next year and a half. If he had the same injuries as Embiid.
This is Kawhi Leonard right now. We are seeing this.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, credit to him for even playing. I will say when he went down with that fall, it was a little scary with him blinking one eye and the camera was showing it. I was like,
yeah, a little Tua going on.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But thank God he came back. Outside of that though, Sixers were minus 21 in 11 Embiid-less minutes. So 11 minutes without him, they were minus 21. And then big storyline here: Sixers bench: Batum, Hield, Paul Reed. Combined minus 57. Meanwhile, Bogdanovich, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, plus 27, plus 20, plus 37. That's the story of the game right there. Bench guys stepping up when your star player has an off game. Jalen Brunson shot, 6 or 8 for 26? Other guys stepped up. Josh Hart, huge threes. That was Philly's game to win. That was their chance to steal one in the Garden on the road against a tough Knicks team, against a bad Jalen Brunson game, which you don't know how many of those you're going to be blessed with, and they blew it. But you know what? You can't predict Josh Hart hitting 3 contested threes in the fourth quarter, more than he's hit all year.
Yep.
Also.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree there. Chase, what about you?
Here are my thoughts. I was sitting there Saturday watching it, and it's maybe a little controversial, but I was like, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have the Knicks be all right again. All right. I mean, it's been fun for a lot of years. It's been fun to see them suck, but seeing good basketball in the Garden with that crowd and stars like Embiid and Brunson going at it, I was like, this is kind of what it's supposed to be. This is nice, and it was a great game, at least by the standards of what we've had this past weekend. I like the Knicks' depth and the bench. They play Tibbs basketball. They freaking work hard, and they just get the dumbest points. But those are the dumb points you need to win these playoff games. If Embiid can stay healthy, though, I like the Sixers coming back because I think, yeah.
I'm listening.
Like
Keep going.
Because they have Embiid. He's the best player on the court if he can stay healthy. They have Maxey, who's a legit threat, and then they have these guys that are off and on. But if they can get on, then they're on. I know that's great analysis,
But do you think Embiid gets healthier as the series goes on? Because I would almost think the opposite. As these playoffs go on, I think he gets less and less healthy because he's just playing so hard and he's getting overworked.
It's true, but like Connor was saying, Embiid's never been one to duck out of the playoffs. I think he's one of those guys that actually cares. And
I will say,
I don't think he wants to lose in the first round.
Philly got kind of screwed with this. They're one of the only games that only had 1 day of rest between game 1 and game 2. I think there's only 2 games that had that, and so they got a little bit screwed there. The thing with Embiid is, even if he's healthy-ish, like he's still going to give you 30, but he's not moving like he used to. He's a little bit out of shape right now. I'm sure there's not much cardio for a guy that had that type of injury, and you're not getting any help from Tobias Harris. He's pretty much invisible for some of this series. Like, it would not shock me to see him get played off the court multiple games in this series, and he's your second highest paid player. I don't know. This could be a freezing cold take if the Sixers come out and just dominate tonight, because it's going on right now. But off 1 day of a rest on the road like this, I don't see them coming back from this. I think the Knicks win handily tonight, and then they're up 2-0, and that's it.
Did you bet the Knicks tonight?
I did.
There you go. Attaboy.
I did. I had to. I parlayed them to win game 2 in the series at like almost even money. So I put that together. That's the only zag I've had of like what I talked about before the playoffs started. Because now I'm like, all right, the Sixers dug themselves this hole. I don't know if they get out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep mine. I think if I remember correctly, I think I said Knicks in 6, and I'm going to stick with it. I think Knicks win.
Looks good.
Yeah, I just think Jalen Brunson turns it on. Like, Jalen Brunson had such a bad game, like you mentioned, Connor. I think Philly had to steal that one. Jalen Brunson had a bad game, and they still won. Like, yes, it took 4 Josh Hart miracle threes that he just doesn't hit, but they still come out on top of that game and overwork and beat another game, and they get to play in the Garden tonight. Like I said, this will be very dated when it comes out tomorrow morning, so kind of unfortunate there. But anything else in this series?
That was about it. Deuce McBride, 5 for 7 from 3. I don't know if we see that again.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. I remember, I was sitting there, I was like, okay, let's check the halftime box score. I was like, oh, he had 16? Or not 16. Yeah, it was halftime, yeah.
He was hitting some tough shots. I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was halftime.
I'm hanging on to the fact that the Sixers should have won this game. Like, they had it, right?
They played Brunson as well as you could play him, honestly.
That's true.
Yeah.
We just need Tyrese.
Game 1 in the Garden.
Tyrese Maxey, most improved player. Let's just get that out of the way now.
Bring that one home.
Pacers-Bucks. Are you guys overreacting to the Bucks winning handedly without Giannis? I'll start with you, Connor.
I'm not necessarily. So, number one, I am overreacting, but not on the Bucks side. I didn't realize the Pacers defense was this bad.
I think we did know this, though.
But we knew it was bad, but I was like, all right, playoffs, like, their guys are back. They got Siakam now. Like, it's going to look better. Like, Halliburton, is off that minutes restriction. He's healthy again. It's going to look better. No, they got the doors blown off. It was over in the first quarter. I was shocked.
That's what I was going to say, too. And you can say, oh, well, Damian Lillard had 35 in the first half. He's not doing that again. But the glaring point was, even when Lillard was out in the start of the second quarter, the Pacers, that's when they really lost their lead. That's when they really got worked. I think when Lillard came back in, it was 19 points. I think it was like 44-25 at that point. So, Pacers, I picked the Bucks, and then I texted you when I made that graphic or whatever. I was like, yeah, if I could flip, I would. But glad I didn't, because I think the Pacers are toast, to be honest. This is the one I'm overreacting. I think Game 1 tells me I'm taking the Bucks to win this series. Keeping that prediction, I guess, because I was trying to flip-flop, but I think Bucks win in 6.
The inexperience, I don't know if you guys felt this way. I thought the inexperience of the Pacers showed very early on, because in the playoffs, the home team's going to come out hot, firing, amped up from the crowd. They're going to go on a run. You're going to get punched in the mouth as the road team, especially as an underdog like this. All of a sudden, they go down by like 8-10 points, and everybody except maybe Siakam just starts forcing. I mean, It's just forcing. And the thing about it is,
even
the Bucks
Even Siakam was forcing. He was just hitting.
Yeah, it's just working a little bit. But the thing about it is, the Bucks are going to be okay if Miles Turner takes 10 threes. They just are. That tied his season high for three-pointers attempted. Only did it one other game. This dude averaged 4.2 threes a game. I think they're going to live with him doubling Halliburton's field goal attempts like he did in game one. Like, that's just what you're going to live with. And so the Pacers started forcing things early. Halliburton was invisible. I mean, Beverly and Malik Beasley had him in a freaking seatbelt on the side of the court. He couldn't even get the ball on an inbounds. So, I don't know. I just thought the inexperience showed through. And at this point, for the Bucks, maybe you don't rush Giannis back. If you get to 2-1, maybe you just kind of ride it out with these guys.
Chase?
Yeah, I wish I had something fun to say, but I agree with y'all. I mean, Halliburton's a shell of himself. It's kind of sad to watch. He's just not himself. Miles Turner was just pretty much just a body out there. And if Siakam's going to be your best player, I don't see a single playoff series you're going to win. No offense to Pascal Siakam.
Chase, I'll ask you this. Do you think Halliburton's more of the player we saw before his injury, or do you think this is more of who he is and he just went on that huge tear before the in-season tournament? Like, which version of Halliburton is the normal?
I'm more tempted to say this is his normal self, and which is a bummer because he's such a fun player, but the way he shoots the ball, I know everyone talks about his form.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to point out.
And he was hitting everything back like the in-season tournament, and we're like, this guy's awesome. Look at the 3-point numbers now. And if he's not hitting, what else can he do? He's a great passer, a great facilitator. But other than that, he can kind of get to a spot sometimes and get to the rim, but not in the playoffs, not against the Bucks with Brook Lopez sitting in the paint, and especially when Giannis comes back. Mm-hmm. So the Pacers are toast. My only thing, and I'll say this: if Doc Rivers is your head coach, you've never won the series until Game 7 horn ends. Like, I'm still terrified if I'm a Bucks fan. Like, it's Doc Rivers.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, none of these series are over. It's game one, and it's game one overreactions. That's the whole point of this podcast. But yeah, that's a great point. Bucks go up 3-0. Giannis comes back game 4. You're still not out of it. I mean, Doc Rivers is your head coach. You can still choke this away. That's a great point. That's a great point. Anything else in this series, Connor?
I want to give a quick credit to Damian Lillard. This is a big moment. No Giannis. Pacers were actually favored whenever he was announced out. Favored on the road in Milwaukee, which is a little bit crazy in game 1. But he came out and just slammed the doors on him in the first quarter. He knew it had to be done. Benches Damian Lillard. Reminded me of some Portland playoff games we used to watch. He just set the tone early. And then Beverly and Malik Beasley guarding Halliburton, face guarding him 94 feet against a young guy like that. It's first taste of the playoffs. It was too much to overcome. I thought the way they attacked the start of that game was very impressive.
Connor, what do you have to say about the 0 points from Dame in the second half?
I think somebody made a call. I think there was a lot of action on his live over 40 points, and somebody was like, that's it. You're cut off. Bobby Portis, Chris Middleton, here's 25 shots each.
Yep, I agree too.
It's a little fishy.
It was a little fishy, to be honest.
Worst beat you can ask for. Lillard was like minus 140 to be the leading scorer of the game, and Siakam beat him by 1 point. The City didn't score the second half. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I had AD leading score in the Nuggets game. Him and Jokic tied 32-32. AD missed a free throw. Yeah, I'd split dead heat.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like I'm not gonna be upset about a win, but AD had a free throw with 4 minutes left. Just clank.
Yep.
Of course. It's like clockwork every time. The house always wins. Let's move on. Let's get this series out of the way. Cavs Magic. I tried to talk it up a little bit more before in our preview, Connor. I tried to be like, yay, Cavs Magic. I'm actually excited for this one. And then I watched it, and then you're just like, all right, I tried. I mean, it was so NBA TV. The offense was awful. There's turnovers after turnover. Paolo had 9 turnovers in his first playoff game. It was awful to watch. The commentating was terrible. The best part about the commentating was the 2 minutes to start the game when it was muted. And then once it turned on, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. It went back on mute on my TV. It was just awful all around. But the one thing I will say, Donovan Mitchell turns it up for the playoffs. We were talking about Jamal Murray earlier being like, he just turns into prime Kobe in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell, man, he just does it every single game. He just turns it on, and he can go crazy. As much as he can kind of be somewhat of a head case, you never know if he's got 1 foot out the door trying to go to New York. thing is, he can turn it on like this in the playoffs.
Well, that's the thing. You're always going to have a chance with him on your team.
Yep.
Even with him as your number one guy, you're probably not winning an NBA title. But he can get hot. He can carry you for a few games in a series, and that's a big thing to have on your side. I didn't have much on this. I just wrote down Orlando doesn't have the offense to compete here, especially in late game scenarios. They can hold the Cavs to 95 points, but they're not going to score 95. So it almost doesn't even matter. Paolo, 9 turnovers. There's really no other shooting threats. So if you're the Cavs defense, just collapse on him. Send guys. Have guys swiping in the lane and playing off of, Jalen Suggs or Gary Harris, who was 0 for, or Franz Wagner, who's taking a step back this year shooting the ball. You're living with that. Have guys in the lane, and that's what they're doing. And it sucks for Paolo with his first playoff experience, but that's just the formula to beat him right now is like make them hit shots from the outside. They're not going to do it.
Chase?
Yeah, I'll just say I'm kind of sad. Orlando's everything I kind of love in a basketball team. They're young. It's Orlando. They haven't been relevant in such a long time. You have a young star in Paolo. You have great role players. They just don't have it in the playoffs. I think it's call it what you want, inexperience, jitters, whatever. They just don't have it, and it's showing. And the thing is, I don't think the Cavs are necessarily dangerous. I don't think any of us saw this coming. I think we saw Orlando. We saw a young, scrappy team who would be able to maybe compete and bring some fire, and they just haven't. Maybe that'll change when they get ahead to Orlando. Maybe some playoff basketball for that home crowd will do some good for that team. But if I'm overreacting, I think Magic are kind of dead.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think the Magic have a shot? So clearly you don't think so, Chase.
I'm not going to say never because, again, if they head back to Orlando and they have something there, but it's really looking grim for them. Yeah,
Connor?
I didn't like what I saw.
I think the Magic are too gritty to get absolutely killed in this series. I think they'll win a game or two where it's like, all right, Donovan Mitchell just shot 7 for 31, and then Mobley and Allen look a little clunky like the Knicks series last year. There'll be a game or two like that they can pull off, but in the end, to not have a closer like that can get you a bucket, because Paolo can be that guy, but like I said, the Cavs defense just collapses on him. You get the ball to Donovan Mitchell one-on-one, you're confident he's going to get you a score if you need it at the end of the game. Even if he's 9 for 30, he's going to put the ball in the basket. I don't know. I don't know if they're dead, but they're like 95% dead. I don't see it this year. I don't see it.
I think it's 95% dead too. The number one takeaway I had from watching this game is Klay Thompson's probably going to be an Orlando Magic uniform next season. Like, they have no shooting, man. I mean, it is brutal. Like when you see anybody on that team shoot a three, you're like clank, 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 clank.
Yeah.
You have no confidence whenever anybody shoots on that team, to be honest. Like even Paolo's he's got a solid mid-range game, but you're still not 100%. Anytime he shoots, you're not like, okay, that's in. It's just you're like, oh, okay, nice shot. Like it's kind of, I don't know if that makes sense by any means, but
the team they built around him just doesn't really fit his skill set. It's almost like Zion in New Orleans, where it's like he can't play with Valanciunas. Paolo can't play with 3 guys that can't shoot. Like, yeah, Jonathan Isaac's cool playing him at center. That's awesome for the defensive end.
You love Jonathan Isaac. You love Jonathan Isaac off the court.
I bet Utah does.
Utah's big. I'm surprised
they might give him the max.
Yeah, the Jazz might give Jonathan Isaac a super max, honestly.
I'm with you on that, but you can't have 4 guys that shoot under 35% from 3 around Paolo. He's got to have space in the lane, and this team this year, they're just not built the right way. And my next question was actually going to be, who do they give a bunch of money to this offseason? It's got to be Klay or like Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter. I don't know.
I like somebody. I actually like Malik Monk in Orlando a lot, actually. But the problem is, Malik Monk, he's the guy you don't want to overpay. He's the classic. I like him at $10 million, $17 to $20 million. I don't like Malik Monk as much.
I think that's fair. Yeah. One last point I want to bring up about this series, just quick thing. Evan Mobley quietly shooting 34% from 3 over his last 20 games. He didn't have any hesitation in game 1. So if he can somehow shake off that, in his head, can't shoot, they're leaving me wide open for a reason, and he can hit 30% even and just be respectable in the playoffs, the Cavs might have a path to the conference finals. We'll see.
Yeah, and then Bill Simmons brings back his Evan Mobley, Kevin Garnett comparisons and Tim Duncan. And will he be the greatest player of all time? Up next on the BS podcast.
It's shifted from that to trade Evan Mobley, keep Jared Allen.
Exactly. What? Yeah, I love it because I do the same thing, so I can't talk.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Bill Simmons, the Boston Celtics are just going to stomp on the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are dead. I know, Chase, you're a little pessimistic Boston Celtics fan. You're like, ooh, I'm a little scared of the Heat. Ooh, Jaime Jaquez, get away. Caleb Martin, you're going to punk us. This is over. Over, whatever word you want to use. This is a wrap. Celtics dominate the Heat in the first. You watch the first quarter. I think Russillo had a great tweet. It was like, that was the most Miami Heat quarter of all time, where I think it was 17-2 at one point or something, and all of a sudden you're like, how is this 27-21 at the end of the first quarter? Like, how did the Heat do this? And then Celtics were like, all right, screw this. We're going to hit threes. We're going to knock down shots. We're going to play better than you. And you just saw they're the better team. They're not about to get punked by this Miami Heat team, especially without Jimmy Butler. Overall thoughts, Celtics fan Chase.
Yeah, listen, I want to agree with. I was so bad with everything you're saying because I just want the Celtics to stop on the Heat because I hate the Heat. They're just the biggest thorn in the side ever. But that's the thing. Like, they still are that thorn in the side. And I'd love to say this is over, and I think it is. I really do. I'm not stupid. You know, I'm a pessimistic, but I'm not stupid. I know what basketball looks like. And Boston's statistically one of the best teams in NBA history. And the roster they have is insane. Miami's not winning this series, but Miami might screw over Boston's chances to win a title. I know someone's getting hurt in this series. Caleb Martin already tried to kill Jason Tatum on the court.
Oh, stop with that. No.
All right, Drew pushed him, but it's whatever. All right, someone's going to get hurt. They're going to screw over Boston in some way. They're going to send him out. It's going to be like Game 5. Boston's going to be up 20, and Kristaps is going to be limping to the locker room. And they're going to be like, it's over.
There's not going to be a Game 5, first off. Second off, that's a great point. If you're a Celtics fan right now, I don't think you're worried about the actual series. You're just like, guys, please, just don't have a Caleb Martin or Haywood Highsmith dive at someone's knees. Just stay away from injuries. That's all you got to care about in this series.
Yeah.
Isn't that how you felt the last 3 months of the season? Isn't that how Celtics were feeling like since, January? Like, just nobody get hurt.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's what they did. They barely played Porzingis. They let him rest. It's ended up perfectly, and he's the missing links. Like that's all they needed was Porzingis, a guy who can play the middle of the court and stretch it, and just hit shots. And Miami cannot compete. It's not even close. The only thing that I could see happening is Joey Maz pooping his pants and Spoelstra pulling off another miracle, which could happen, but no, Boston should win it. It's going to be Cavs-Boston probably by the end of this weekend. Who knows? With the way those series are going.
I think I wish Doc Rivers was coaching the Celtics right now. Then that would be just fantastic because Doc Rivers somehow chokes this series away.
How much does Boston's title odds drop if Doc Rivers is the head coach?
No joke. It probably goes down to like plus 250.
That's funny.
Connor, what do you go about this series?
Don't lie, Chase. You miss Marcus Smart. I know you regret that trade, right?
No, I'll tell you what. Though the second Marcus got traded, I was really, really sad, and I haven't thought about him in months. Sorry, Marcus, but I don't care. The team's so good.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say this: the Celtics resting their starters the last few weeks of the season, that was 100% the right move. Pritchard and Sam Hauser combined for 20 points in Game 1, 6 for 11 from 3. That wouldn't have happened if they were getting 5 minutes a game throughout the whole regular season. Like, getting those guys when their legs under them was huge. All 8 Celtics who played took at least 5 threes. So, there's modern NBA basketball for you right there. And they took 49 threes in Game 1, but this is what they do. They averaged 42.5 during the regular season. My only concern with that is, will this become the norm for them in the playoffs? And then all of a sudden, a couple games they're not hitting, or a team's not playing zone like Miami is, and they go like 10 for 50 or 10 for 55 and shoot themselves out of a game against a better team. Are you worried about this becoming like a bad habit almost? It's worked so far, so there's no reason for alarm yet. But with a 7-game series, teams can make adjustments. That might worry me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been the concern with Boston, right? Especially in the clutch minutes.
That's what I was going to say.
We get to see Tatum show off his between the leg dribble at least 20 times before he steps back and takes one of the worst threes you've ever seen. And if that is the normal, then Boston is going to be in trouble. Because when you go up against Denver, who traditionally does not shoot threes at that volume but makes threes and is efficient with them, you're going to be in trouble. Because the second you don't hit, I mean, we see this in college all the time. You live by the 3, die by the 3. It's so classic. But Boston, the thing with them is they have the talent to not do that. They don't have to shoot threes because they have guys that can do everything else. It just comes down to coaching and making sure those guys know how to play offense.
The clutch minutes is what I would be concerned about with the playoffs going forward. I mean, that's what your concern has been this whole time. The late game Celtics stuff. You're like, what? This team poops their pants at the end of games. I don't know if that comes down to coaching or if it comes down to just who these players are, but it's just, they just break down. They stop running everything they normally run, and it, like you said, it becomes Jason Tatum iso ball. And I was going to ask you this: have we ever seen Jason Tatum go into the defender and not take a fadeaway with 1 minute left in the game, ever in an NBA game?
No. His rookie season, I remember this just because I'm a fan, Philly series, he gets a layup and he wins the game on that. That's the only time I've ever seen him take a shot inside of 12 feet for the game. And it was just because he was wide open under the basket. He wants to be Kobe. Like, I get it. He loves the guy. He has the skill set. Like, he's really good. But his clutch minutes are awful. He's like 1 for 70 on game winners in his career. He never makes them.
Dude, he's like 19. Chill.
Yeah, he's 19, dude. Yeah.
Pretty much older than Shea. But no, that's always going to be my concern until I see them hold the trophy. Like, and you know, we're talking future here now with the Celtics, right? Because I think that's not going to matter for this Miami series. But when they get to the finals or even the Eastern Conference Finals, let's say they run into New York in the Garden, and Jason Tatum is just, you know, he's got tingles in his arms because he's like, this is my moment. I know it's going to be a problem, and he's going to take that shot. Porzingis could be wide open, and it's not happening.
Sneaky. I think it could be a problem in the next series against the Cavs because Donovan Mitchell is the guy that wants that shot at the end, and I think he's the guy that can hit that shot at the end of games. That's where I would be. I think you're overlooking the Cavs just a little bit. I think the Celtics still win handily. I think they win in 5 or 6 still. But if we get a couple of tight games early, I like Donovan Mitchell with the ball in his hands more than I do anybody on the Celtics.
I agree.
I think that's fair.
I think you're right. Especially if the Cavs if they get a sweep the Magic and they just get a waltz into this Boston series, Boston will be fresh too. This series isn't going 7 with Miami, but a fresh Cavs team against a Boston team who, I don't know, maybe overlooking them.
The problem is with the Cavs, the lack of wings there is what's going to kill them. I mean, you got Tatum and Brown; they're going to absolutely dominate against the Cavs. So,
the Celtics are so good. The Celtics are so good. You don't they're going to win all these games in 3.5 quarters. But right. You know, when it comes down to the end of the game against these better teams, maybe you won't be until Denver in the finals. Maybe you won't have to worry about it till then. Riddle me this. Is it a little bit of a lack of identity, whereas the starting 5 is so good and everybody trusts each other so much? It's like, all right, I'm going to be a bystander effect, and you know what? You go make a play. Or I don't have to do this. You go make a play. Or hey, you know, a little bit of a lack of identity, whereas they don't have one guy. It's supposed to be Tatum, but historically it hasn't been. One guy to give the ball to at the end of the game where you know, hey, you're going to close the game for us. They've got 5 guys who are awesome and the best starting 5 in recent memory since the KD Warriors. But I think that lack of identity hurts them just a little bit, which is obviously you trade that for the starting 5 they have any day of the week. But what do you think?
Right. No, well, Tatum's supposed to be that guy, and he is. He's going to take the shot. The play will be drawn up for him. He just needs to learn to pass it off. He needs to learn to take the double in stride and find the open guy. What we see now, I mean, everyone likes to talk about the last champion, right? And they're like, this is the formula now to win. And it was like Nuggets, they're team ball. They have the best guy, but he facilitates. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But the Celtics can play team ball if they just decide to pass the stupid ball, right?
Yeah,
but with 3 minutes left in the game, they stop. They become allergic to it. It's like they don't want assists. So Tatum could be that guy. He just needs to learn, draw the double team, find the open man. That's how you win games. That's how Jokic does it. You don't see Jokic taking shots unless he absolutely has to, especially in those clutch moments. He just finds the open guy.
Yep. Al Horford game-winning 3 against the Nuggets in the finals. Can't wait. I can't wait for that. Last thing before go ahead, Connor. What'd you have?
I had one question for Chase real quick. As a Celtics fan, which iteration of the Miami Heat do you hate more? The LeBron James and the Big Three Heatles, or this iteration that beat you last year, has been the thorn in your side for the last few years? Which iteration do you hate more as a Celtics fan?
This one, 100%. It's LeBron James. I'll lose LeBron James any day. I don't want to lose to front-running, coffee-munching Jimmy Butler.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. All right? The
Talk
Heat
about
are the
MJ,
luckiest
like
team
that.
in the last 3 years, easily. And this is the most annoying Heat team ever.
Yeah, Caleb Martin, how he played last year is the normal dude. I don't know what you're talking about. He's
Caleb
an all-star.
Martin. Yeah, this is who he is.
We saw it in Charlotte.
We saw it at NC State. Yeah, this is normal for Caleb Martin. This is nothing out of the ordinary.
LeBron saw this coming.
Last thing before we go, are we? I'm assuming all of us had Nuggets Celtics in the finals. Are we changing that?
I'm not.
No.
I'm keeping it. Boston in 7 against Denver. I think it's going to be a historic series.
Chase, what's yours?
It's Boston, Denver. I mean,
Who wins though?
Unless-
Who wins?
unless someone gets hurt, I like Boston in 6 games. If it goes 7 with Denver, Denver's winning that. So Boston, if they have a chance, they need to win that in 6.
Yeah, I think it's still Nuggets. I think it's still Nuggets in 7. So I'm going to stick with the Nuggets. You just watch them. Both teams, for a matter of fact, but it just looked more effortless from the Nuggets, man. And then maybe that's just how Jokic is and just how his play style, because he doesn't really have to do much and move much, so it looks effortless. But I mean, they were just toying with the Lakers. It was crazy. But anyhow, all right. Anything else before we go, Connor?
First time since 2013 that all 8 home teams have won game 1, and unders went 6-2 on the weekend. There's some stats for you.
Does that mean the Miami Heat are going to win the NBA Finals?
Maybe so. 2013, get some voodoo going here. Ray Allen in the shot. Caleb Martin gets his-
Highsmith in the shot.
Yeah, exactly. No, dude, Jovic, the
Yeah.
Dame stopper, Dame trade package.
When's the NHL preview come? When are we doing NHL playoffs, Connor?
Connor, that's more of a question for Chase. I haven't watched a single minute of hockey this all year. I watched the Canes a little bit in the playoffs. But
Yeah,
Keep the
we'll
ice.
watch it once we stop recording. We'll stop.
Hey,
it.
NHL's
not
coming to
big on
Utah,
ice.
so
Yeah, NHL to Utah. Anyhow, that'll
It's
do it from
dangerous.
us. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code CarterCast for $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. $20 off. Use code CarterCast, KarterKast, for your first purchase at SeatGeek today. Chase, thank you for coming on. Great debut. Hell of a debut. A round of applause. At Chase_Rogers0 on Twitter. At Connor_Sparrow. At CarterBA. At CarterCast on all social media. Subscribe to the podcast. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You name it. Follow. If you're watching this on the X live stream, follow the CarterCast on Twitter. Rate, review. Do what you got to do to help out. CarterCast.com will be live soon. And we'll be here all NBA playoffs, college basketball offseason podcasts, NFL draft stuff coming next week. Connor, Dylan, and I can't wait for that as well. When J.J. McCarthy somehow is going to get picked 2 overall. Chase, Pats fan, real quick, give it to me. What are we feeling about the Pats? It looks like the rumors are coming out that they're going to trade out of 3. How do we feel about that?
don't trade out of 3. Draft a quarterback. Please draft
Even
a
if it's
quarterback.
real quick, Connor, you're Carolina guy. Chase, you hate Drake May.
Can't stand
What?
Drake May. Look, listen. I see the talent, but I don't see the head. That guy's got no brain. Give me Jaden Daniels.
You're saying Drake? Wait. You're saying Drake May is more trustworthy than Jaden Daniels? Explain that one to me.
No, I'm saying Jaden Daniels is more trustworthy than Drake May. Listen,
Coming out of Utah, that's crazy.
give me.
I'll say this, Chase. Here's my bold take.
What a progressive thinker this guy is.
I thought the pod was ending. No.
I'll say this, Chase. If the Patriots stick at 3 or trade back and pass on Drake May, that will be one of the most historic blunders in franchise history. If they draft Daniels, that's fine. I think that's fine. But if they pass on Drake May, if he's the third guy there and Daniels and Caleb Williams are gone, and they pass on Drake May or don't take him, that's going to be one of the most historic blunders in Patriots history.
Wow, we need to talk a little bit more about Drake May off the pod, I think, because
Okay.
I have some thoughts.
Okay.
I can't wait. NFL draft stuff. Panthers second round. We need to just talk about the second round. You know, Connor. I don't know if that dude from that wide receiver from South Carolina. I can't pronounce his name to save my life. It's Oscar Sheboy 2.0 for me. I can't say his name, but he the most hilarious dude I've ever seen. Have you heard his voice?
I have not.
Oh, it's
Not
big
plugged in.
country. I mean, seriously, he talks like this. I mean, I love the Carolina Panthers. Keep pounding. It's
Takes you back to the
it's the most,
Kernersville cookout parking lot.
yeah, it's the opposite of Michael Thomas. He talks like the exact opposite of Michael Thomas. But anyhow, all right, that's it from us. Follow us on all social media. You saw the things. Everything's in the episode description as well. We'll be back soon. Make sure to tune in. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.